So we've spent today really talking about a lot of the cyber threats that are out there, protection, but unfortunately, you also have to talk about kind of the worst case scenario if something happens. And one of the biggest things you have to have in place, obviously, is cybersecurity insurance. And it's been very obvious over the past really year or two the hit they've taken because companies didn't have the correct layers of protection in place. We've seen a lot of changes from that. What should banks be prepared for? What's kind of your take on that whole situation?
Well, you're absolutely right. There's been a big change over the last few years with ransomware increases and geopolitical threats and everything that's happening out there. And long gone are the days of just getting a one-page request letter from the carrier saying, "Hey, do you have antivirus?" And yes, I do. Okay, great, whatever you like. It's becoming much more challenging to get coverage if you don't have proper controls in place. And obviously, with the evolving landscape and everything, it obviously makes sense. You should have a lot of these things in place. But now, if you don't have some of these things in place, then your premiums may be rising, or in some cases, carriers don't even want to do business with you. And obviously, that can become a challenge because in your line of defenses in your organization, it's obviously a key piece. It's almost your last line of defense, so to speak, if something happens. And for example, multi-factor authentication. It was something that you should be doing. It was on the request list. Hey, do you have this? Now it's the point where if you don't have this, don't even bother. And in coming down the road, we're seeing more things like that. Privileged account management is another one that's out there. How are you securing, identity access? It's a big piece. How are you securing your service accounts, your privileged accounts? How do you know what's out there? That's a key area that I see that's going to be coming in the next few years, where it's going to be no longer do you have this? It's you must have this, and all those other things that are in place, encryption, etc. I mean, hopefully right now you have those in place, but if you don't, it's going to be extremely hard to get coverage, and at the same time, your premiums are going to be a lot higher than you're normally paying.
Yeah, no, for sure. And this is just another big benefit of everything else we've talked about today. And putting those layers of security in place that are so important to banks. But on top of just the security aspect, it's also preparing yourself for what's coming in the cybersecurity insurance industry. Because you're right, that's the worst thing that can happen is if you're denied coverage, you've got to do something at that point. So it's a great benefit to having those protections in place. That's good.
Right, something we hope we never have to use, but in the event that we do, you want to make sure you have proper coverage from your size, your organization. If you have something like an incident response retainer on file, make sure that they work closely with your insurance company, make sure they're approved. And one other takeaway just we're seeing is I think last year there was a premium increase 75 to 80%, something like that, something crazy, just the jump in cost. So if you're budgeting for something like that, make sure you keep it in mind that that could be something that does increase over time. No fault of your own, but you want to make sure that you're not getting blindsided by premium cost that doubles from what you're normally paying. So just some things to keep aware of as the years go on and more threats that are out there and more attacks are hidden and less carriers want to do business. So
that's great advice. Thanks.